Today I am going to discuss about the CRUD operation in Spring Boot using H2 database. H2 database is in-memory database. So you don't have a specific database outside in your system. You can use the in-memory database. And what is CRUD operation? You know that it's a create, read, update and delete operation. It's the basic functionality for the database operation. Using Spring Boot, we can do it very easily. Today, I am going to discuss without JSP, the CRUD operation, and with JSP as well. And we will cover later the case study for the RESTful web service, for the shipwreck application. For any design solution, we need a resource for the URI, configuration of database, and representation class, repository, resource controller. Later we'll cover using Spring Unit and integration testing. Now first, to support JSP in Spring Boot, what we need to do, Spring Boot will not support JSP automatically. You have to provide the dependency that you will Tomcat Jasper. It will allow you to um, support the JSP. So for example, here in the controller, I have just written a very simple function that in the request mapping, if you do that, it will invoke the JSP page. And now what I'm trying to do that, create an instance of H2 database and create table by JPA. And you know that creating table and connect to database using JDBC is a very long process, and you have to write a lot of code. And here you just write a single interface. That's enough. And here I have used that entity. I have used the @entity of the Java persistence, and in the application properties I have mentioned that database URL. And what you will find, suppose if I don't write @entity @id, table will not be created because it will not identify that alien as an entity. It's just like a pojo. If you just add it and connect to H2 database using the JDBC URL which you have mentioned in the application properties, it will create the table. That Spring Boot feature, and a table is getting created automatically. Now inside the table, if you want insertion without JSP also, you can write the same in the data.sql. You can write insert into, and you will see that data is getting loaded. It's as the Spring Boot loading file at the runtime. Now data insertion using JSP. Now when you just write localhost 8080 slash, it will load the home.jsp. Inside the home.jsp, you just write two text, user ID, name, and click submit. And inside that, what I have used, field name AID and A name. Make sure that AID and A name should be the same as the entity model, AID and A name. So it's getting mapped automatically. After doing that, it will doing that its add alien action will be invoked in the REST call, and it's also get call. It's a get mapping. Okay. And what we give AID A name, which is also present in the alien, its field should be matched in JSP and the entity class. And once the field is getting mapped, now what you are going to do, you have AutoWare, the DAO class, alien repository, and save and the putting the entity. That's it. And and the DAO class is very simple. We have used we can use the repository which is provided by the Spring Boot. We can use JPA repository. Here I have used CRUD repository, and I have mentioned the entity or the model name and the id as a primary key. We don't have to implement anything. It's a just simple as that. And when we are writing repository.save, and here inside the create repository we have all the necessary function, that is save, save all, and the find by id. So where we have used the save function, it will save your data in the database. It's just simple as that. You don't have to write huge jdbc query to save it. And data save into database, you see that check that here we can, in the h2 database we can execute sql query, select star from alien, you will get it. And now let me revise it, and localhost h2 console to get that. First what I have done, that in the pom.xml I have added the dependency for Jasper, which will support the JSP, and I have to add the two dependency for JPA and the H2 database. And here I have the configuration for the H2 database related stuff. And here I have used URL, mention the URL is the in memory, and here I have used my choice as the server.port as 8081, and console path I have mentioned h2.console, h2-console, and here mention the database URL. And once you do that, you will get that page where you can create table, execute table, and in the home.jsp, here id name what you have written here. And as I have mentioned that whatever the field present in the home.jsp, what you are trying to save, the model or entity should have the same name, it should be match. And obviously you have to have that no argument default constructor and argument constructor, and make sure you have the getter setter function. Once upon a time I just forget the getter setter function, everything was perfect and data was not getting saved. That's very funny. And for save operation in the controller using the alien repository, and here we are using that jpa repository. And here it's jpa repository. When you are writing the save operation, it will doing it automatically in the save, which is internal to it. It's in the jar file it's providing, you don't have to write that function explicitly. And in the JSP itself, when you just write localhost 80801 and slash, you will find that home.jsp, you write that id and name, and after submit, and you can check that data is getting, I have added as a name as a Piyush and the id as 4. You will see 4 and Piyush. And one thing it's very interesting, I have write aid a name, and the column in the table is a hyphen id a hyphen name. So if you are lower and uppercase, it will segregate with the hyphen. That's Spring Boot features. Thank you. I will cover the rest of the part for the CRUD operation in another tutorial. Thank you very much.